Good evening. It is 19 hours 30 in Guyana, and you're tuned into the radio with a difference. The best choice, the right choice. That is 99.1 and 99.5 FM. And it is time for Room 592. This evening, we have, as usual, at the helm of the program, Dr. Yog Mahadeo, and senior journalist of Kaiser News, that should be Mr. Leonard Gildarie, forgive me there. And this evening, we have as guests, producer of Real Guyana, Alex Arjoon. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm fine, thank you.
Pretty good. Yog, he deliberates, he calmly adopted us, huh?
Yeah, well, that's great. And let us welcome let us welcome Mr. Alex Arjoon. Welcome to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It's truly an honor to be here. Hi, Leonard. How are you doing?
How you doing, Alex? Long time.
Yeah. Well, Alex, it's good to see you. And to our listeners and viewers out there, we're going to have a 90-second clip as we welcome you to Room 592, where we unleash the truth on Kaiser Radio with yours truly, Leonard Gildarie, and our special guest tonight, Alex Arjoon, the producer of Real Guyana. Sorry, I got that a little wrong, but I'm going to get it right. Don't worry. But tonight, across to this nation, this wonderful country of ours, we got lots of things to discuss. We're going to talk a little later about the elections and the update on the recount. We know we got 108 boxes. That is an additional 43 boxes today. We're going to get to that later. We expect that we will be joined by Mr. Sais Gunraj on or around 8 p.m. tonight to give us an update from the Arjoon Convention Center. But that being said, let me introduce to you all, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Alex Arjoon. He's the producer of Real Guyana. That is REEL, to our viewers that are listening to us on radio. This is a young man who has fallen passionately in love with Guyana, literally. He has fallen in love with our natural, not just the resources, but nature itself. And his love is being showcased in the work that he is doing. I must say this, I must say that Alex comes from the background where his mom, as everybody knows, Annette Arjoon, is one who has been extremely, open in her representation of Guyana and its environment. And so we know that background is very strong there. And Alex has himself worked on a number of things, but has showcased Guyana in a most recent production of the dangers we have, our coastlands. And he has the clip, the video, the documentary that has been released online. You can get it on YouTube, you can get it on Facebook. And I'm going to ask our technical operators to please play a couple seconds of that clip. Let our viewers see and listeners hear as we look at this documentary produced by Mr. Alex Arjoon, the producer of Real Guyana. This documentary is entitled Coastlands. Over to you, Kevin.
One of the things that really affects the shape and position of your coastline is how much sediment is getting delivered there or is eroding away. And as I'm sure many people there are aware, that changes over time. Even within human lifetimes, you can see some big changes depending on how much mud is coming out of the rivers, how it's getting transported along. And so there's already a lot of variability in that system that creates for a very dynamic coastline in that region. Places with low-lying topography are particularly vulnerable to sea level rise as that occurs. Places that are already vulnerable are getting flooded, right, will be flooded more frequently. And so as the background level of sea level goes up, you're getting an increasing frequency of these high flooding events, if you will, that will affect the communities. And that's really how it's going to be felt. More than a gradual change will be those extreme events that become even more extreme and more frequent.
Seconds, and I must tell you, yours truly, I've looked at this video. It's a magnificent production, and I'm not just talking about the professionalism that you have exhibited in producing this documentary, but it does, it does sound, it looks and it feels like a person who really cares about this country of ours. So, Alex, let us get into this. What has motivated you to become such a lover of our environment and our country, sir? You're a young man. Tell us about it. Make us fall in love with Guyana.
Well, yeah, it's really not, for me, it's a bit personal. I guess I spent most of my life as an athlete. I played squash for Guyana for like a number of years, but over 15 years. And I always, I would tour the Caribbean and other parts of the world representing Guyana. So everything I did was essentially with, in the name of Guyana. When I was finished with my squash career, or when I wanted to move on to other things, I definitely really wanted to find that like same passion for representing Guyana on some scale. And but I knew it couldn't be sports anymore, and I always had a creative side to me that I always wanted to fulfill. So I thought to myself, what can I do to contribute to get Guyana's name out there, but more so just inform Guyanese about Guyana while learning about Guyana myself. And with that in mind, I was, when I moved back home, I was given an opportunity to work at E-Networks. They gave me my own show, which allowed me to talk about topical issues. And then, one day somebody came to me and said, "Oh, you should, you are more like what's this guy that does?" He said, "You should do more nature-oriented stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And I always had a passion for the environment, and I just sort of followed my instincts. I just did what made me happy. But I think most of all, I really enjoy sharing Guyana with the people who follow my work and are interested in the same things I am.
Correct. Well, thank you for that, because indeed it is interesting to see how we are all, guided by some inner voice towards, something that we are passionate about anyhow. And that is great. Alex, tell us a little bit about, what led you to this particular, creating this particular documentary that is called Coastlands. What led you there? I've seen pictures of you on your Facebook page on canoes and going across the various, the interior areas of Guyana. But what led you to look at this create this documentary?
Coastland was actually, to be honest, it's weird how these things work, because especially in art or a creative endeavor, they just kind of happen. The stars align, and you just, once the opportunity is there, you go for it. I think sometimes things happen, you see an opportunity, and the rest is up to you. So with Coastland, even though a lot of my work is on the environment, especially in the Rupununi and the hinterland region, from the inception, when I started doing this work, my mom she used to force me to go on these trips. Every time there's an overtopping, she's like, "Oh, let's go get this overtopping. We got to get this for our archives." And I every time I begrudgingly went, like I dragged myself to go. For me, it was a chore. And but then I started to go more and more, and you really get a different perspective when you're there in the front of the overtopping, on the front lines, especially with the drone. That's a view that not many people are privy to. And there was this one time where we went, and it was a super blue blood moon or something like that, and the overtopping was tremendous. We were filming in the back of a pickup, and the waves just crashed over, nearly flooded the whole back of the pickup, nearly knocked us out.
Wow.
I lost all my equipment. It was like a tragic day, but it just sort of, as discouraging as it could have been, I was just like so enthused to continue documenting that. And I didn't even at the time, I didn't think I was going to do something like this. And then one day I was just like, after the recent happenings in Maikoni, actually last year in Danzig, I was like, wow, like this is like the perfect climax to what I've been doing for the past 4 years.
Right.
And we can tell such a powerful story that Guyanese essentially need to know. This is climate change at its best or worst. And it's something we don't think about at all in the grandest scheme of things. And I think it's definitely something that should be part of the national discussion. So I just thought, I could invest once I have all this footage, I'm just going to invest the next 3-4 months of my life just pushing for this. And I did. Correct. And, it's today I was able to have a conversation with Form 1 and Form 2 on Zoom at QC. And those are the kind of experiences that make all this worth it. The fact that I get to influence the younger generation a little bit and just share my experiences. And because I was a kid too, and still am in many ways. And it's just really nice to be able to share that and just, not necessarily tell people what to do, but just say, hey, it's this is what I've experienced and we should talk about this,
Correct. So. Correct. Well, that's interesting because, Alex, unfortunately, in many times, many cases, we have found that, as a country, we move along, but we don't give the youngsters, we don't give you guys the wherewithal to be free with your creativity and to explore and to produce and say, here you go. So I am glad that you were able to be through all of that and emerge. Before we get into more of the content of the video, and before I see Mr. Gildarie there is biting his chums together to you, I want you to say a few words to the youngsters of Guyana. Say a few words to them that they too can follow your footsteps and can live their dream.
That's a very I wish I felt as confident as you made me sound. But honestly, I look, what I'm doing is, it's not that people aren't doing it in Guyana, but it's not like a lot of other self-motivated businesses or endeavors. You really have to be self-motivated, and I think it really helps to. A friend of mine actually told me, a creative friend of mine. I remember one time I was speaking to him, and I was like, I just don't know if I'm on the right path, and I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. And he's like, Alex, if you don't believe in you, why should anybody else?
Correct. Well said.
That just makes sense. That made sense to me at the time. And at the end of the day, look, I know my intentions and I know what I want to do. And don't get me wrong, I wish there are more things I would like to happen. I wish the creative industry had more support. I wish there were more financial opportunities to do this kind of work. But I think that at the end of the day, you just, if you're really passionate about something, you got to pursue it at all costs. And that's my nature. Like, again, back to my sports background, I just feel like it's just me. That's who I am. And that's how I follow. So I'll just, I know I'm into this and I want to do it 100%. And when you do things at 100%, you can't lose, you can't lose. If my mom says, if you're not afraid of hard work, you're never going to starve. So that's where I am.
That's right. And Leonard, what are your thoughts? Have you looked at I know you and I have certainly looked at the video. What are your thoughts, Leonard?
Well, obviously, I would have been looking at everything that this young man has done. He's no stranger to myself. His mom, Arjoon, and I happen to be very good friends. In fact, he's just like Arjoon. They torment the hell out of you, and I could tell you, I could tell you that when it comes to drone, and I see a lot of these shots, and I operate drones too. It's something that I do from time to time, and I could understand and have a deep appreciation of what Alex would have gone through to get those shots, and what some incredible shots. I remember, I think it was last year. It was at the iFlood area there. There was overtopping, and Hannah's mom was there with me, and we were taking some photographs. And if you've seen nature, he was talking about standing at the back of that pickup there, and the waves came over the seawall down on the Maikoni area there, and almost swept them off the pickup. I could tell you, seeing nature in its full glory, like what you would have seen at iFlood there, it is deeply frightening, but there's something that's also very beautiful about it too. dangerously beautiful, if you want to put it that way. And if you would have gone into the hinterlands and you would have been able, it's difficult work, yoga. I think that's what I want to say. It's difficult work, but what you see after you would have sent up that drones or you would have stand and take those photographs, you might have to go in the nights and so to get the photographs. When it comes to the drones, the photos and so, you have to put yourself in some pretty difficult situation, and it's not easy operating a drone. And when you're in difficult situation too, you have to actually pay attention, look at the surroundings, and keep an eye on the ball at all points in time. So it is incredible work. The quality, the video, the music, and everything that's put together there. Very well done, son. Very well done.
Thank you.
And Leonard, one of the amazing things that has come out, you see, every time Guyanese artists, like Alex, when you guys produce these things, Alex, you not only showcase what we need to heed as a country, but you make us proud. You showcase us all. And man, I am proud of you. I'm sure your mom would be proud of you. I want to ask you a question. You are next to an amazing woman. I believe Annette is a Guyanese icon. You are constantly next to an amazing woman, but you're also constantly next to an amazing guy. You know, Dave is humorous, yet he's an amazing talent. How do you feel when you are next to these two amazing persons, Guyanese icons, and they're each on their own right?
It's for me. It's sometimes I take a step back and I realize, and I guess because you with family you're always interconnected and the relationship is different. Dave's a lot of Dave's. I respect Dave, more than anything, and obviously a lot of his work is before my time, so I may not be as appreciative as the more mature folk such as yourselves. But I it's an honor to share a household. My mom is obviously a big influence in my life. Her, along with a lot of other women in my life, my grandmothers and whatnot. And I think outside of her professional career, more than anything, she's shaped me and just she's just given me some solid values. So
Great.
I think more than anything else, that's what I'm most appreciative of. But yeah, it's great. It's from an artistic point of view, it's great. As you may know, like Dave was part of my last production with Inside Reel. He narrated it, which was nice because he's such a familiar voice. So yeah, I think even though those guys are pretty established, it's definitely nice to try and form my own path, And,
yes. I'm sure, but I can tell you, I know if Annette and Dave would be watching you here on this show tonight, they'll be very proud of you, as I am too. But Alex, let's get back to the work you were doing. I want to jump the gun a little bit. What next? What are you thinking of presently, and what's next for Alex Arjoon?
It's funny that every time I come to do an interview or I'm trying to talk about the work because when I do the work, I try and promote it and whatnot, and people ask the same question, what's next? And I'm like, really, I don't know. Like, it's so exhausting mentally when you've committed to a project for so long. At least for me, like I wish like I always had something in the chamber ready, but it's like it's so mentally draining to spend so much time looking at one thing. And I always have ideas. And don't get me wrong, this is not the last project you will see from me. I have tons of ideas, but
I trust me, I have no doubt.
Yeah.
That, what you said there, Alex, sorry to butt in, but what you said there speaks so true. Alex, I'll tell you this. If you were very predictable, you may not have been as creative. So I don't see a problem that you don't have anything there to say, listen, this is the next project, because when it comes, it's going to flow.
It actually works like a cycle. So you start with like an idea, and then you sort of gather momentum. And then once you sort of have an idea of where you're going, you plateau. And then that's like the hardest part, because you're like, you're struggling to really get your messaging across and be true and honest at the same time, because it's like at the end of the day, it's my perspective on whatever I'm talking about, but I want to be as effective, and that takes so much time, and it's a lot of the time in any art form, I guess somebody would tell you, like, things get discouraging very fast,
Right.
so like from where you sort of stand, it's really up and down. But as far as my work now, right now, I'm just sort of enjoying being finished, and Coastland still has more rungs to make in terms of viewership. I think the
That's
response
right.
has been great, especially from the diaspora, which I'm very thankful for. And I really hope it gets to a lot more young people, because at the end of the day, they're the people that are going to be the ones who will make the changes we need to see, especially as it relates to our coastal systems.
Correct. And Leonard, in terms of the showcasing of the Guyanese cause, Guyanese environment, Alex, I mean, and guys like Alex, they're going to be pressured, because you know what? Guyana is at a juncture when, if we don't do something, going back to the coastlands work that Alex created, if we do not do something, we are in some serious problems. However, Guyana is at the precipice, isn't it, Leonard? Because we're so consumed by elections. And after elections, guess what's waiting? The monster that's called oil. And the oil industry has not been known to be friends of the environment. I mean, that's another discussion we'll pick up on another day. But what's your thoughts on this, Leonard? How do you see Alex and his creativity vis-a-vis what the challenges we have?
Well, it is a very good point. It is a very good point that you have said there, Yog. And I think Alex has indicated it needs to go more wrongs. But let's put it in perspective. Everybody, their attention is going to be taken up right now with COVID and elections. Under a normal scenario, Guyanese living a normal life. What you would have had right now is maybe launching in Moray House or somewhere at the Pegasus, and Alex Arjoon was going to be there with his mom and Dave Martin, and maybe the president of Guyana and several ministers and the minister of tourism and so on, who would have been seated there, as well as embassy folks, and that would have been in a normal situation. And unfortunately, that is not so. What his situation is also brought to bear right now is we need to start taking stock when it comes to creativity and what it means to our artists in Guyana. The laws have not been passed for that. Even things like copyright, simple things like copyright, we have not been able to get ourselves in order. Years have passed. We've been talking about it. We've been going forward, and nothing has been done. So his story here is bringing everything of that up forward. I would just want to stress, had it been a normal Guyana situation now, let's say January or December back, he would have been sitting there either at Marriott or Pegasus, and there would have been a huge launching of this.
Well, Leonard, the truth is that it would be left to people like yourself, senior journalists in the field, to ensure that we don't drop this ball, because the creative people like Alex, they can do their best and showcase the causes of Guyana, but it's up to the reporters and the media to now give it that chance. Alex, I want to just come back to two things. One is that I've received an inbox message that I'm sure you would laugh at when I read that out to you. But the first one is you would have studied in the US, right?
Yes.
And what has been your experience going from Guyana as a young man, being in the sports field and being exposed here, then going to study in the US and come back? Not many people go there and study and return.
Yeah, the experience was drastically different. Not to say that my experience in Guyana was not great in terms of developmental perspective. High school here for sure were some of the best years of my life, hands down. The friendships and relationships I've created, the mentors I've had. But I think the difference about the foreign schooling system, which is something I'd love to see in Guyana, actually, it's one of the biggest things I'd like to see, is that I just feel that the education system here does not really allow for discussion and they don't allow for different perspectives and sort of individual identity. I feel a lot of things are very uniform the way they're taught. They're not,
Right.
they're sort of lectured and then regurgitated. So you take your notes and then you sort of word vomit that out on paper when the testing time is arrived. Where in when I went to school away, I felt there was more, I felt the teachers made you feel like you were part of the discussion, that your voice mattered, and that, it's okay to be wrong. It's okay to ask questions.
Right.
They really wanted you to be deeply part of the conversation. And I just feel like, again, and that's what I'm trying to do with my work, but I feel like that was a difference to me.
Right.
And I would like to see that in Guyana.
Coming back to your video, tell us one or two moments of the creative, the not the thoughts and the processes, but the experiences in creating, putting together the video itself, producing it. What would be one or two of your experiences that stands out for you?
Definitely, a lot of the work I do a lot of traveling, but I think the best part is the people I meet. You meet people from all over Guyana Guyana is so vastly different landscape-wise if you've traveled. And you sort of meet people who have very different experiences, but we're all Guyanese. So I think really learning about, other people's lives and making those relationships really helps with the creative process too, because you sort of understand more deeply what you're talking about. And, when you consider somebody else's experience, it really makes the story honest, it really gives a level of sincerity to the message you're trying to portray. And as far as the creative process goes, I just love, no man, I feel like with art, no man is an island. So I think collaboration is key. I have a trusted group of people that I run all my stuff by, and I really enjoy that. I really enjoy running it by them and being vulnerable as a creator and hearing feedback, because I just feel like we're all in it together, and it's just not me trying to do this alone.
Right. Well, Alex, we may be interrupted very briefly. Please stay on. As you know, everybody's so focused on elections in Guyana. So we are going to be distracted with elections update and recount update. And ladies and gentlemen, as we continue to chat with Mr. Alex Arjoon, we are welcoming Mr. Commissioner Sais Gunraj, who is coming to us after a long day at the Arjoon Convention Center for the recount. Commissioner, if you could kindly swing your device around, because we didn't want to all turn this way to look at you. And I know you're busy, sir. Thank you for joining us. And over to you, Mr. Sais Gunraj. Ladies and gentlemen, let us welcome Commissioner Sais Gunraj for an update. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Yog. Thank you for having me once again, and good evening to you and your viewers. Another long day. This is day 3 now. Teething problems this morning. Decisions of the commission were miscommunicated to all of the workstations. So that's a fire that we had to extinguish very early in the morning. As a consequence, that delayed the process. But having that sorted out, and what it was, there were attempts made to include observations that are destined for an observation report directly on to the statement of recount. That was a direct contravention of the decision of the commission, and as a consequence, the original decision had to be reaffirmed. That being said, the commission met subsequently and dealt with a series of issues. You had issues like on the official list of electors, all of the serial numbers that were ticked were being called out, etc. The difficulty with that is that it has a potential of revealing the identity of voters, and which is a big no-no. But of course, with some extrapolation, it could also make guesses or calculated guesses, perhaps, of how persons voted, particularly in smaller boxes and so on. So that was a major decision that we had. There were some other issues about use of cell phones in stations. I mean, as I said earlier on to other sections in the media, I believe that removal of someone's right to use a cell phone in 2020 might be perhaps, I don't want to make it extreme and say a breach of a constitutional right, but certainly to deprive persons of that should not be allowed. But more importantly, as the day progressed, you saw there's deliberate attempts to slow the process down, and I'm not sure why. Well, I have my suspicions, but and an issue that we've discussed but not concluded on, and I'm hoping to do so quickly. When it gets to 5 o'clock in the afternoon and a box or thereabouts and a box is concluded, there's reluctance to release another box to the counting station to vote, to be counted. And that's a problem, because what you find happening in some instances, there's like a deliberate running out of the clock, until that time. So that, of course, removes the ability of the process to perhaps process another 7, 8, even 9, 10 boxes before the close of play. Correct. So that, but of course, if a box open, it has to be concluded and closed, right? So we've got to look at that. What else? The tabulations started and ran for the first time for the entire process today, and from 5 straight to 6:30, it ran, no issues. There was a slight backlog, but that backlog will clearly be removed tomorrow. In addition to which, what else? What other issues were there? One major issue that I see making its rounds in the press, and I'd like to comment on, is this assertion by one of my colleague commissioners that there are discrepancies or there are anomalies which prevent the counting of boxes. That is not so. The decision taken at the commission level is that once a box is open, it is counted. And regardless of what is found in there, if there are any issues or anomalies, they ought to be included in the observation report that forms part of the bundle of documents that emanate from a station after it is counted. So I don't see the issue, regardless of what it is. It has the votes in that box have to be counted, and whatever issues they are to be contained in an observation report. It ought not to stop the process, slow the process down, or in any other way interfere with the flow of the process. And I really want to make that very clear.
Well put, right? Because well put, Mr. Gunrad. Because the issue comes up, we've had a few other discussions today with a number of persons, and two things I want to bring to your attention for your quick comment is one about your colleague, your legal colleague, that is Mr. Timothy Jonas, and what would have transpired there. But the second one is to go back to your point about the 5 p.m. Reluctance of some workstations to discontinue, because as Mr. Gildarie said earlier today, if 10 workstations has 1 hour, each has an hour to spare, that's 10 hours.
Exactly, using 10 man hours, you're losing.
Correct.
Right. And the excuse given, Yog, is that I advocated very strongly on. I'm outdoors, so you're seeing some of my insect friends.
Right. That's okay.
I think it was a moth or something. Yes. The benefit of the tropics, good weather and nice animals. Yes, so I advocated at the start of the process that the boxes should be counted in numerical order. All the boxes are labeled from 1, 4001, 1001, 3001, going down. 1 goes all the way to 99, 4 goes all the way to 4879. Right. So as a consequence, I've advocated for that. So one of the disingenuous excuses given this afternoon is, well, you've advocated for the start of the regions to go in sequential order. to bridge that. Because what I suggested is that we could look perhaps at assigning a box for us with containing a smaller number of voters as a close off, as the overnight watchman, as they may call it, right? And
Correct.
so that can be used in a short time to take up that time in as best as possible, make best use of it. But like I keep saying, I kept saying this long before the process has started, and I'm seeing it happening now, and I must say that where there's a will, there's a way. If there's no will, you'll find excuses. And that is what we're finding every single day. Excuses upon excuses. And as soon as you think you have one issue sorted, you have other issues cropping up. And I see some level of deliberate acts. I label it as such. But that notwithstanding, it is what it is. We continue to deal every single day with the issues that are before us, and we try to deal with them and resolve them in a timely and efficient manner so that this process could go on properly.
Right. Commissioner, 43 boxes today, which brings us to a total of 108. It, as you rightly saying, and you have been saying from day one, it leaves a lot to be desired because for us to get to any respectable number by day 25, we have to really ramp this pace up.
Yes, Yog. Yesterday, when I saw that we did, when I saw that we increased from 25 to 40 boxes, I said, wow, this is a steady pace. It's not as fast as I would like us to go, but it certainly is pretty fast. It certainly is an improvement from the day before. And with that improvement, I would have hoped that we certainly would not have been doing 43 today. We should have been probably doing at least 60 or 70 boxes, which still is not an optimal number, but it's a marked increase. But when you see the malaise and the deliberate acts to slow the process down, you understand why we're not doing 60 or 80 boxes a day. All kinds of things. People nitpicking. Well, thankfully, we've had a decision of the commission now that requires no calling of the sequence numbers. So what will happen is that there will be a quick check of the official list of electors, and the number of persons who are ticked off there will be announced to the room.
Okay. And I like your earlier point. That is that if there is a problem with a box, as long as the box gets opened, it has to be counted and the problems will be noted.
Exactly. And there's a system in place for that. There's a system in place for that with an observation report. Right? I can say here that in the earlier deliberations, observations were not something that are contemplated in this process, and it was confined to a small box on the statement of recount. Further discussions enlarge it to an entire page, which allows for persons who are stakeholders to even sign that document, and it's reflected in the order. Right. So it's not something. It's something that has been elevated to some higher degree of in terms of space and all of that to highlight these issues and to detail them. So there's no big issue there.
Great. And just to top off that point you made earlier, Commissioner, because Leonard and I had a discussion today with somebody who claimed that, the people close off at 5, they're reluctant to go beyond because they're tired and so forth. But we rebutted that by saying, but tomorrow is your day off. I mean, people are doing this thing on a rotation basis, so they can work, they can go into the night. Is there any likelihood that GCOM will make a decision, the commission will make a decision to say, you need to open a box. The cutoff point is probably 6:15 or thereabouts, but you need to open a box and you will count it off regardless of the time it takes.
As I said earlier on, it was a discussion that we've had, but we have not had it to conclusion. I am hoping that we can, getting the experience of today as well, we can hope to factor that into the discussion tomorrow and have some definitive position on this put forward, because clearly it is a waste of precious man hours in this process.
That's right. Leonard?
Yes, absolutely. Commissioner, I want to ask you, has the commission in itself had a discussion on 25 days? And if so, is there a more realistic position? Because we could conclude now that the 25 days is not probably likely to happen.
Leonard, as you'd see in the order, we have catered for a revision or a revisit of that position at the end of the first week. We are day 3. We have 4 more days to go for that week. And as Yog pointed out just now, the staff are working on a rotational basis. So you've had, this is day 3. Tomorrow you will have the first full rotation, full 2 rotations of staff. I believe at the end of tomorrow, we should be able to, and taking into consideration the decisions that we've made today and the implementation of those decisions, we're hoping to see every single time we deliberate, at the back of our mind is speed and efficiency, right? So we are looking to have that, pace certainly increased.
I heard you use the word. I heard you use the word, Commissioner, speed and efficiency, and I want to ask you if that is reflective of all the commissioners and the chairman, because there seemed to be an impression there's a tugging and pulling in different directions.
Well, Leonard, persons, depending on what they want out of this process, it will determine how they treat with it. I could tell you what I want, but I don't know. I can assume by certain person's action what they want out of it. I want a clear, clean, and transparent process to be done. And I want it to be done in a timely manner so that this nation, its citizens, including myself, can get back our lives, and we can focus on what is important to the country.
I was looking at just before Yo comes on.
Go on.
I was looking at a video, the interview with the reporters out there. Were they badgering you, sir?
I have known to badger a person or two in my courtroom appearances. I don't myself badger, but I don't have a difficulty, and I'm happy that you've raised that issue, Leonard. I don't have a difficulty asking questions and being asked questions and answering them. But I ought to be allowed to answer questions when they're asked. I ought not to be interrupted. I ought not to be given an opinion while I'm offering my opinion of the matter. If you're not satisfied with the answer that I've given after I have given it, there's always the opportunity. I'm not running away. As you know, I'm probably one of the friendliest persons to the media. And I've always availed myself to opportunities to interact with the media because I believe that the media is an important stakeholder in this process. And you also know, you've seen my public pronouncements on the media, and I believe that I value the work that is being done by the media, and I don't want any action, real or perceived, from me to be viewed as a denigration of the work that the media is doing. And if I certainly do not feel badgered by the comments and the questioning this afternoon. And if I seem to have come across as though I was uncomfortable, or I was not. I'm asking for what everyone asks for.
Well, I learned that from Matlock. Watching Matlock over the years.
So Commissioner, here is something that you might not like to hear. As you know, we run all kinds of permutations out there. The system just allows conspiracy theories and just allows everybody to come up with their own thing. Here is a logic that might be illogic, hopefully, and I hope it's going to be illogical, but here is a logic. If we go at the current pace, by day 12, we hit a magic number, sir. And that magic number is just over 400 boxes. Now, why I'm saying that magic number, it was at just over 400 boxes of Region 4 that everything went into disarray at the first blush. So we are certainly hoping. Over to you, sir.
Leonard just asked me whether I was feeling badgered. Maybe I'd want to maybe I'd want to reconsider that position. I would not want to get into conspiracy theories at this point. I am focused on the task that is at hand.
Good.
And I am concentrating all my energies and dedicating my efforts towards the execution of that task. Plain and simple. Plain and
Great.
simple. Now, that being said, and it's you're at day 25 or I'm not sure what day you said, but at the end of day 3 and after this many hours, I'd want to take your leave, but I know there's another issue that you for me to address, and I would address it and ask respectfully to take your leave.
That's okay. Thank you, sir.
No,
Thank
the issue, I know you've raised one issue. And
with Mr. Timothy Jonas.
The issue with Timothy Jonas.
Yes,
I've made a public pronouncement on it. Listen, I have long suspected that COVID-19 will be used as medical warfare. I saw one hashtag. In fact, I attached that hashtag to my post today. I saw Timothy Jonas yesterday. I interacted with him. I'm no doctor. There are dozens of doctors on the in the Recount Center doing at least a dozen doctors in the Recount Center doing all kinds of things in the process. Some are supervisors, some are party representatives in the tabulation center, some are party representatives in the counting stations, etc. Those persons have seen, and there's a medical team, there's a medical center as soon as you walk into the Arthur Chung Conference Center. Every time I go, every time I enter the compound, I'm required to have my temperature tested. I don't understand, and in fact, as we speak, I'm learning of some new developments in terms of communication, etc., that was sent to Mr. Jonas. If that is the basis upon which we are suspecting cases, then you're gonna walk into the facility and be like, Oprah, you have COVID, everyone has a COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that is not the way it should be done. It should be done in a professional manner. And like I said, I have suspected for a long. Mr. Jonas turned up at the facility yesterday, engaged and was very, very efficient, extremely efficient, I understand, in his involvement in the process. And then today you're hearing of this. That is nonsense. Plain and simple nonsense. And when you have, and I said this before, in relation to the arbitrary action of the National COVID-19 Task Force, in relation to denying permission to the Carter Center to have them come into the country, and this is another example. The persons who are seeking public office as a consequence of these elections are controlling the process. And I don't want to say publicly what my thoughts are and what the plans are for Timothy Jonas, but you know what? Those plans will be foiled because, and I posted as part of my my post today, they first came for categories of people to which we did not think we belong, and then we said nothing. And then they came for other categories, and we continue to say nothing. And then when they come for us, we look around and we certainly recognize that we are standing there alone. Today they're coming for Timothy Jonas. I am denouncing it publicly because we don't know who they are coming for tomorrow or the subsequent day. And that must be stopped, nipped in the bud, and prevented from happening and proliferating now.
Correct. Well, thank you so much for that, Mr. Commissioner of GCOM SACE Gunraj. We appreciate the feedback, and we certainly will adhere to the various reports coming out there, and especially yours, sir. We thank you for taking this time. I know you have to go, and we're really appreciative of you taking the time to be here with us.
Thank you so much, sir. Good evening. Good evening to your viewers, and good evening, Leonard, as well.
Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And do give our regards to your family, sir.
Thank you. To your families as well.
Thank you.
All right, then. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was Commissioner SACE Gunraj, and he is, as you can see, he looks a little tired today. We hope he can get a good night rest. I've heard that not many of those persons there have any sort of rest during the day, during the night. Sorry, Leonard. But it's been good. And I want to quickly remind everyone, we have a total of 100 boxes done, 43 additional boxes today. And tomorrow, as we get down to our elections watch and COVID watch with Mr. Leonard Gildarie, we'll certainly continue the discussion. I don't want to have more deliberations on this, Leonard. Let's come back to our guest for tonight, Mr. Alex Arjoon. Alex, I'm sorry that we had to take you through that. But, you know, we got a few minutes more. We got about 4 or 5 minutes more to wrap up our tonight's program. And we are appreciative of you being here. Leonard, just before Alex comes on, I just want to remind everyone that, you know, we have this going on every night except on weekends. Except on weekends, we have this going every night to ensure we bring you the elections watch while we have our mainstay show. And tomorrow we have elections watch. Are you going to have elections watch and COVID watch, Leonard?
Well, we're gonna be paying very close attention to what is happening. If there's anything remarkable, and don't forget that Kaicho Radio is going to continue doing its live update, and so we are going to be on air all the time. We're going to keep you posted as if there's anything major developed. Of course, Yog and I are always available to just be on to come on board.
And just to let everyone know, our Monday night. Next Monday night, our guest for our discussion will be the person that we will ask the $1 million question to. Mr. Charandas Prasad will be joining us next Monday in room 592. So everyone look out for that one. As we come back to Mr. Alex Arjoon, you know, Alex, I'm sorry again as we kept you, holding on through that. Your thoughts, sir, with regards to your own production and put it together with everything that you just heard. That's a difficult one.
You're really putting me on the spot there.
Well, we cannot divorce politics. What's happening in Guyana from our livelihood?
We can't. And I honestly, I'm people who are there risking their health and well-being to ensure we have a free and fair elected government. Hats off to them from all sides or all parties. And it's just like Say said, it would be nice to get this over with and have some sort of continuity in our lives. Somebody said it the other day. I think it was the Canadian High Commissioner, when a political crisis meets a global pandemic, it's disastrous or something like that. So not in a very opportune situation. Actually, it's funny because up to the other day, I was telling my friends, I was like, the next 5 to 10 years are the years that, it's going to be amazing for Guyana, and things are going to be so they're going to be rife with opportunity and an amazing future. Not to say that that's not still there, but, we took a slight detour.
So, well, the truth is you are right, and the concern is right to be voiced, because last week, a couple of days ago, 2 days ago, in fact, we had a discussion in the economy, and the truth is that COVID will have an after COVID effect upon the economy of every country in the world, including Guyana, and oil has taken quite some beating, but you're right. I mean, you cannot give up hope, and the creative people like yourselves are surely going to rebound over and over again. Alex, there is a message I got it. I must read it out to you here. And the message is basically a question. Alex Arjoon, Mr. Alex Arjoon, are you married? I think it's one of our female viewers have sent that query.
That's a curveball you throwing at him, man. But go ahead.
No, I'm not married yet, but in a happy committed relationship.
So to you, Miss, I shouldn't call the name. To you, our dear friend who has sent that message, he is, single but unavailable. So, but Leonard, Alex has been a wonderful example of how young people can really be looked at as the future of Guyana. And Alex, we can have so many platitudes that we can read to you or recite to you, but the truth is, at the end of the day, it's you and the examples that you pull on that will make you stand up on your own 2 feet, isn't it, my friend?
Absolutely. Honestly, it's just giving a voice to, like so many other great institutions in Guyana, giving a voice to the people. Mm-hmm. I do offer a lot of the artistic creativity is from my perspectives as an individual and as a Guyanese, but ultimately the topic is relayed through Guyanese, Guyanese people, Guyanese culture, which has a voice of its own, and unfortunately we've never been able to, effectively tap into that. There's no reason why we shouldn't be on the same level as Trinidad and Jamaica in terms of how hard we back our country. There's no reason we shouldn't have undying patriotism. Like somebody told me the other day, there's a lot of countries that they identify, their identity is clear as day. What is our identity? Do we know exactly what our identity is? We're told that I hate the fact that people keep saying one people, one nation, one destiny, but do we actually reflect that? So it's something to really consider when we're trying to find our identity. And I hope the more creative work is pushed, not necessarily mine, but just from all Guyanese, that we can figure that out. That's the ultimate goal, and I think that would give us some sense of direction.
Wonderful. Well, Alex, it's been such a pleasure to have you in room 592 on Kaiser Radio tonight, and I am sure that we will have this room available for you in the future, my friend, as we keep on looking out for, an inspiration that you could give to the youngsters out there. The future is all yours. You young people in this country, the future is really yours. And it's time the politicians and those who hold up hold up the freedom of the runway to back off and let them. So, Alex, thank you for being here tonight. Leonard, I know I haven't given you much time to talk, but I'm not going to give you any much time to talk. As I say, we are about the end of our time for tonight. And thank you all for joining us, ladies and gentlemen. We'll certainly keep pushing for bringing you what is happening across this country. And we look forward for you to join us again on Monday in room 592, when we're going to be asking Mr. Charandas Prasad that $1 million question of whether he received $1 million. But for tonight, it was a pleasure to look at Coastland, to have an interview with the real Guyana producer, Mr. Alex Arjoon, as we certainly look forward to continuing the discussion with how we can all develop Guyana together. Alex, thank you for being here tonight. It's been such a pleasure to have you, sir, and good luck with your future. And the future of Guyana is in good hands when it's in you youngsters' hands. Leonard, my co-host, thank you for being here tonight. Thank you to Josh, Kev, and of course the Kaiser News and Glenn Lal for making this time available for us to have room 592. Ladies and gentlemen, as we say sometimes, peace out. Have a good night. It's been a pleasure. And to my wonderful wife, Anita, happy birthday, my darling.
Happy
Good
birthday,
night,
happy birthday, Anita.
As we say goodbye from room 592 on Kaiser Radio.